Hello, welcome to Screen Talk with yours truly, Nomfanelo Malloy. So I found this article the other day on CBC where essentially independent theaters are upset that they have to wait for a long time to get access to movies because of Cineplex. So let's just take a look at what the article has to say here. So in April, so let's just go back here. So this here is Corinne Lee. She is the owner of Rio Theater in Vancouver. She is amongst the independent cinema owners who are essentially complaining about the access of films because with the larger chains, it seems that they have more of exclusivity of those films. So let's just get into the article here. In April, Everything Everywhere All at Once was released theatrically across the country. The film hit streaming services in May, came out on DVD and Blu-ray in July, and on October 10th, Vancouver's independent Rio Theater was able to book the film for the first time. Owner Corinne Lee says that these wait times are getting longer. Theaters like hers used to get such films within 2 or 3 weeks of their initial release, she says. Now it's as much time as 6 months to a year. It's often streaming online. You can watch it on the plane. You could see it everywhere else but our theater. Now, Lee, I think, or it's Leah, is among the independent theater owners across the country who say they are last in line to acquire films. They say distributors tell them they have to wait much longer until the larger chains, which is mainly Cineplex here in Canada, are finished with the movies, which the indie exhibitors say is taking longer than ever and hurting their business. So it's quite often the case that we're not allowed to play film while that film has already been released to rent online. Says Wendy Huot, if I'm pronouncing it right, who owns a screening room in downtown Kingston. Rachel Fox, who handles the booking for the Rio, says she's been told by distributors that if a Cineplex anywhere in Vancouver is playing a film, she can't book it. She says she asked about the film Elvis after it became available to stream on Crave and was told no. She says the theater is still not able to book Top Gun Maverick, which was released in May. Every Monday, we have to send a distributor a kind of sheepish email asking if a film has cleared Cineplex, meaning if the box office return was low enough over the weekend that something else is bumping it out of play. She says the theater will also have films pulled if Cineplex becomes interested in them, often around Oscar season. The financial pressures of the pandemic might have marked a change in how Cineplex is approaching theatrical releasing, says Joseph Clark, assistant professor of film at Simon Fraser University. And that here is the Rio Theater. Independent theaters have always had to wait until the big change Cineplex has been done with big studio releases. But now they're having to do that with kind of big successful festival films and so on that were always distributed by independent distributors. Cineplex said in a recent release that it has focused on, quote, partnerships with non-traditional studios and is running more international product, the kind of films Clark said would have traditionally played at independent theaters. Cineplex said its box office earnings from September were at 52% of those from the same month in 2019. In Canada, Hollywood movies tend to be distributed by their studio, like Warner Brothers made and handles Elvis, for example, while independent films often go to Canadian-based distributors. Several of those distributors, including Warner, Mongrel Media, and Elevation Pictures, declined to comment or do not respond to interview requests. Cineplex declined an interview request. In a statement, a spokesperson said, quote, ultimately, it is up to film distributors where they play their movies. The company has 75% of the box office market share in 2019, according to a 2021 investor report, followed by Landmark Cinemas at 12% and the Quebec chain Cinema Guzzo at 2%. All other theaters combined total 11%. Says one executive at a Canadian distributor isn't aware of any pressure coming from Cineplex to keep films from playing in other theaters. There's never been any, at least that I've witnessed, anything that Cineplex or anybody else trying to leverage their place in the market, said John Bain, head of acquisitions and distributions at Level Film. Hey, but we live in the real world and they have 75% of the theaters in Canada, and you've got to consider that when you're making decisions. There are also many reasons: the proximity of other theaters, cost for distributor, why a film might play in only one theater in a given city. He concedes that the increasingly short turnaround between a film's theatrical and streaming releases add to the challenges for independent theaters. He says the economics of independent film is a little trickier. Theatrically these days make money. He says he has concerns about the health of indie cinemas in the country. Says there's far fewer than there used to be. They really kind of undergird independent film and feature films. It's important for me that they be healthy, and in the end, also the stakeholders are making decisions that maximize their profit, including distributors and theaters. The network of independent Canadian exhibitors, they say, complained all about this to the Competition Bureau back in March 2020, alleging Cineplex has a too dominant position in the market in violation of the Competition Act. The Bureau would not confirm if it is investigating, citing legal obligations around confidentiality. The nature of Canadian competition law makes it difficult to say whether there could be a successful legal case, says Jennifer Quad, an associate professor with the Faculty of Law at Ottawa U. Determining whether one company has too much leverage over a market is a contextual evaluation. There isn't a definition that says it's X% of the market. And so on and so forth. So really, this is about money at the end of the day, because look, I generally believe that, you know, theaters, big or small, should be able to play what they want, but realistically, that's not the case. So yeah, it's just unfortunate that independent theaters are ugly, not just in Canada, but this is also a worldwide issue as well too, because you saw, like, especially during pandemic, how a lot of the, especially smaller chains, they had to shut down businesses. So yeah, like, so I think for indie theaters, like, really should focus that energy more on the distributors than with Cineplex itself in this case, because really they're the ones at the end of the day that decide, like, where they want their films to play. And I think from a financial standpoint, they'd rather have their films to be played in theaters where there's going to be a lot of people and like in a lot of locations. So that's why, unfortunately, they would rather go to the larger chain theaters. I mean, yeah, that sucks, but like also too, like, I think with indie theaters, they should like really focus more on showing like the art house or like the independent films, yeah, which they've been doing for a while. So I find it doesn't really make sense to show like the newer stuff in terms of mainstream films in their theaters, unless, let's say, if they're having some sort of themed event for their theater. So I don't know, for example, like, since it's October, it's Halloween, you know, it makes sense to show, movies that fit, with Halloween. Maybe they're from international stuff, or maybe from local stuff, from Canadian stuff. So yeah, and maybe also too, like indies like host some like film festivals, like local festivals, for example, which I believe some do, because I know in Ottawa, Bytown Cinema, like they would always host the animation festival that they always have here in the fall, for example. So I don't know what else like independent theaters can do, but I would say to like they need to focus more like on marketing, like try to, I don't know, get people, maybe especially younger people, to go to their theaters over Cineplex. Because to be honest, like with independent theaters, like with the movies that they typically show, they kind of skew more towards like either like an older demographic or to hardcore cinema fans. Because for me, to be honest, I haven't been to an independent theater since before the pandemic. I think the last movie I saw at Bytown actually was Parasite, which is a good movie. But yeah, like I'll be honest, like I didn't have the best experience at Bytown because the popcorn there was just too salty. So, but yeah, outside of that, like it was fine. But I think really too, like you see, like Cineplex, like they have more to offer outside of movies because they have their arcades, like they offer movie rentals with the Cineplex store, and they're offering like games too. With I remember they had the VR theater at some point, like all these different experiences. So probably for independent theaters out there, like that's something you guys need to consider. And maybe too, like the film selection needs to improve as well too. But outside of that, like I don't know what else independent theaters can do to thrive, I guess, in the business. Now, as for Cineplex itself, like the question is, are they being greedy? To be honest, I don't know for sure because I don't see any evidence to support the claim that they are taking away like the competition. But it is true that they are essentially the largest theater chain in Canada. And yeah, like I said, they offer more than just the movies themselves. And I like to like with Cineplex, because for me I mainly go to Cineplex myself because with the movies that I want to see tend to play at Cineplex. But I do want to make an effort to support independent theaters. But because yeah, back to Cineplex, because they have like their membership, which I am blanking it, the name of it, the monthly one, which I forgot the name of. But yeah, with that one, essentially you get, I believe, like a free ticket per month, and you get discount like for food, for tickets, and yeah, I know like with independent theaters, like they have their memberships, but I think it's just like for the tickets we pay like a percentage, like a small percentage compared to non-members. So I think that's something for independent theaters to maybe improve on with their memberships. But yeah, that's really all like what I have to say with this topic. So I would like to hear your thoughts, like are independent theaters, do they have like the right to be upset with larger chains like Cineplex essentially taking their business? Or do you believe Cineplex was right? Like, it's really up to the film distributors, they're the ones that decide where they want their movies to be played. Because like I said, it's financial reasons why I believe things the way they are, unfortunately. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And you could also like, share the video, and also subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you soon.